Dan, welcome to breakfast.
Thank you.
I love the book, and I'm interested in the notion of the junk food connoisseur. I know that you're much more than that now.
Yeah.
But that's a little passion that comes through in this book. Look again at the Heinz tomato sauce. There's nothing better. How did you become kind of an expert and a gourmet in junk food?
Growing up in the 90s, no one was really exposed to, really good food. Like now, balsamic vinegar and sea salt and all that is just normal in anyone's pantry.
Pink sea salt.
Yeah, pink sea salt or whatever. In the early 90s, we didn't know what was good. My mother was always working at the restaurant and, I was left up to just, sometimes after school, I would just go to the corner store and just buy lollies and potato scallops and whatever was available in that sort of Bain Marie and just try all different types of junk food. I loved it.
And so you're trying to replicate this in the kitchen when you first, the lights turn on and you think, I'm going to muck around in the kitchen and see what I can do.
I like to bring back sort of that sense of nostalgia when I can do my sort of play on things that they remember from their childhood. There's nothing better when people see something on the menu and eat something that reminds them of how they grew up.
And that's what food can be about. There's a wonderful diagram in the book of, is it the Lotus hamburger?
Yeah, it's the Lotus cheeseburger.
You say you've got to have the Heinz tomato ketchup. That's the only one. If you can't get American plastic cheese, use Australian plastic cheese. Got to have a lot of yellow in it.
Yeah.
That's good. But down the bottom you say, look, you've got to use Japanese mayo. Australians get all confused and we use salad dressing, coleslaw dressing.
Yeah.
But this is important because it has MSG in it. Now, I thought they were dirty initials. You weren't supposed to use
Well,
those.
I mean, that's what everyone thinks MSG is, but it's not really. It's it occurs naturally in lots of foods like mushrooms, Parmesan cheese, tomatoes, and stuff like that. And it just really, it's proven through, the Japanese science or whatever you may call it, that it is our fifth flavor on the tongue, which is umami, which is like a savoriness. And that's what MSG is. It's the glutamates that really create those juices on your tongue and that meatiness. And Japanese mayonnaise is unbeatable. You can't make Japanese mayonnaise I don't have a recipe to make that same flavor profile that Japanese mayonnaise has.
Because you need a laboratory to make it.
Yeah.
Can't do it in the kitchen. Yeah. Now, this is a wonderful parable about, the misspent youth, and the advantages of, in fact, a misspent youth. You left school in 2001, not too academic, smoked a lot of pot, walked around the supermarkets fascinated by the freezer section. So how then do you become a chef and a really good chef and business person?
At high school, when I did smoke a lot of weed, I didn't really have any motivation. I hated school. The only thing I liked about school was hanging out with my friends. And I didn't really develop any passion. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it was only until I started, my mother got me that first year apprenticeship at Long Grain, I really started to develop that passion for cooking.
Now, hang on. That is your mother really coming through for you. Yeah. An apprenticeship at Long Grain, one of the best restaurants in Sydney. Yeah. She's dragged this little weed-smoking kid in and said, give him a. She's used up all her favours at this point, one imagines.
She was the one that suggested I become a chef and then offered to get me this job at Long Grain. So, that's why she's one of my biggest inspirations. That's why she wrote the foreword to the book. And, I couldn't thank her more enough for getting me this job and just starting my career, basically.
Why did you make good?
Once I started cooking and started learning all this, techniques and, working in the kitchen, it just really developed my passion. And I realized, I really love cooking and eating. If I wasn't cooking, I don't know what I'd be. To be honest, I'd possibly own a sneaker shop.
Because you love sneakers.
Yeah, but... yeah.
And what does Mum say in the foreword? Tell us what she says there.
I think she mentions how difficult I was as a child.
Yes, I will admit that Daniel was not an easy child to raise.
Right.
And him asking me to write this foreword may be my only opportunity to tell the world how much heartache he gave me. But when he told me he didn't know what he wanted to do after high school was over, I told him I didn't mind so long as he worked hard and followed his passion. Otherwise, it was a waste of time.
There you go.
Couldn't have said it better. Where's that passion led you? Because this book is a detailed description of sort of the inner workings of each of the restaurants that you worked in. So what did you learn through the course of being at Long Grain, then going through Tetsuya's, all these landmark restaurants?
As a young chef, I just learnt to, as an apprentice, you just really should just keep your head down, be a sponge, absorb what all these older chefs, all these sort of more senior chefs have to teach you. And then once you qualify, then you can sort of start to question everything, question the techniques, question what you've learned. And that's what sort of leads you to become more creative as a chef.
And so what would you say is your philosophy now?
The first 2 or 3 years after I completed my apprenticeship, I was doing fine dining. So I just wanted to do what the latest techniques every other chef was doing. But now it's the total opposite, which is funny. Like I just want to cook food that's super delicious, and I want people to eat my food like every day if they want to. I don't want them to come to my restaurants on a special occasion. I don't want them to just think, oh, I don't want to go there because it's really fancy. I want people to come to my restaurants because they want to have fun. And that's my sort of whole philosophy.
Is that the sort of restaurateur your mother was?
Exactly. People came to her restaurant just to eat the food.
Yeah.
Not because of the wine list. Sometimes people would complain about the service. They'd complain about the food taking so long. And then they'd be back like the next week,
Do better this time.
Yeah.
It's too good to miss. You've got a recipe for the Christmas table. It's prawns. Now, you're going to have to put up a strong argument why I shouldn't just put the prawns on the table.
Well, this recipe just really makes prawns heaps more delicious.
Okay.
And that's by the use of the kombu butter. Kombu, if anyone doesn't know, is a seaweed that a lot of Japanese add to their dashi, which is their stock that they always use for the base of all their recipes. And that adds a natural umami to their stock, which is the MSG. And I decided to make a butter out of it. And this butter is so versatile. It's not only great for prawns, it's great for steak, it's great for fish, it's great for, putting in with, a pot of mussels. The butter is the only sort of, I wouldn't even say it's hard, it's just the only thing you have to do.
Yeah.
So you just sort of whip the butter in either with a whisk or in like one of those KitchenAids. You got to whip it until it's really light. Like the butter you get on McDonald's hotcakes, so it's got to double in size. It's got to go really pale. That's when you add the other ingredients like the finely chopped kombu, the lemongrass, the coriander, the garlic and onion powder, the parsley. So you just mix that through at the end once you've whipped all the butter, and then you can keep it in the freezer, keep it in the fridge. And then with the prawns, you just split them down in half. You can either grill them on the barbecue, you can put them in the oven, half cook them, and then once they're half cooked, that's when you add the butter, which is already softened.
And cook them a bit more.
And just cook them a little bit more and just finish off the cooking. Yeah.
Okay, I'm convinced.
And then just with a squeeze of lime, maybe a few extra chopped herbs on top. It's delicious. Perfect for Christmas, summer. And
make sure all the butter is eaten by January the 1st and you can start your New Year's resolution from there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Thanks so much for joining us. It was
Thank
a
you
terrific
very much.
conversation.
Cheers.